Honestly, it's not, but I think that has to do with all safety issues and village codes that it would meet. If insulation is a village code, then yes. But, you know, there was a period of time we had in this where we hired, if you remember, an outside consultant to come in. We did meters in all these apartments. We went around, and the decibel had come up, and it was that noise. Not that we didn't believe it. But we have been pursuing this all along. This is not a forgotten project. This is not something that we're doing. We've been working on this all along.
But we had spoken before you even finished it and told you that those buildings was making noise before y'all even finished completing those buildings. Then we said that you can hear when people go to the bathroom, you hear when the pin drop, you hear when you blow your nose, and y'all continue to let somebody sign off on there and let us, and since we've been there, they have done nothing but arguing and fighting, and there's nothing that y'all have ceased to do to make it right, because it's always you'll get back. So we're gonna live down there, what, 10, 15 more years, and you're gonna say y'all still looking into it? But the money we're wasting that you're saying that you're getting from the government, you're looking up to putting in fences and looking up to putting in concrete. How about we take that money and look up to make those walls right so we can sleep at night? We don't have none of that. We're wasting our money on what y'all are allowed to be messed up and signed off on, and you sleep at night. And all of us in this community, we're now fighting with each other, but y'all quick to write us a note and say, now you're going to take us to the board, let's kick us out, let's find a way to get them out of here, and you get to lay home at night. But you were warned and you were told that those walls don't have no insulin, and when I came to you and told you, you said you tapped the wall and it had insulin, and I told you I went to a contractor and there was no insulin in that wall, but you yet still want to put a gate up in the community, want to put the sidewalk up, instead of saying I want to take that government money and fix what you are allowed to slip through. How about won't you fix up what we got to sleep through? Because nobody can sleep down there at night. We fussing and we fighting all night long, and yet you want us to write up on each other. Here, write this up about each other. No, we tired of writing up about each other. Take the government money that you allowed to get messed up and fix up so we can sleep at night. Don't act like you don't know we're going through this every night. But you want to put us out. Take us to court to trial.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, Jeremy Morrison, you know it. And we're not saying you ain't trying to do nothing, but you know what, we tired of acting like we don't feel the way towards you too. We trying to, we not saying that you ain't trying to help, but you are 50-50 online too.
May I respond to that? See, because I don't 50-50 nothing. I'll be straight up, and that's what I do all the time, is be straight up about what's going on. I hear what you're saying. I mean, that's all I've heard since I got here. And this is going back 3-4 years now. But in terms of the money that we're talking about from the state, the money from the state was a grant that the developer applied for in order to complete the concrete and sidewalk and parking lot work at the project at the time when they were doing the redevelopment. But because they ran short on money, they went to the state to get a grant so that they could get money to help complete the work that was done, that should have been done then. The grant money is specifically for that concrete and the sidewalk and parking lot things that have to be redone. It is specifically for that. When their grant was applied for, that's what they asked for the money to do. The Housing Authority did not apply for the money. The developer who was building the project did. When the state gives you money, you have to spend the money on what they have.
And they don't. They steal it all the time. And they don't. They steal it all the time.
That's nothing we have control of.
I'm only dealing with what I've got to handle based on what I've gotten since I came here. That was what the money was for. It cannot be used for anything outside of what the grant says. If you try to do that, then they won't give you the money and nothing will get done. That's just how the grant works, and that's how grants work. They were for a specific project. And also, we need to understand, and one of the biggest concerns I have over there is that concrete because you have a lot of trip hazards, people will fall, people will get hurt. And because you need the equipment, it's for you have to understand.
And they don't use it down here right.
Well,
They know how
I
to
know
switch
how
it
to
up,
use
they
it.
know how to write it up, and they know how to fix it up. We've been robbed down here many years, so it ain't nothing they ain't never underlined and fixed up and wrote up grants and used that money for what they want. So one more or two more times ain't gonna hurt over.
No, it
That
is
is
absolutely
absolutely
one
not
more,
true.
two
Mr.
more.
Yes,
Morrison,
it is.
yes. Next, next.
I'm under the assumption that, because you guys just said it, that this matter of the walls is being looked into in two ways. One, you got someone privately coming in to check the situation out. And once, if there is a problem, then you will go back to the developers, discuss this issue. Tell them that you had someone come in and they found some findings and you need it fixed ASAP. Is that how you're going to go about this issue?
No, no,
That's 2
sorry.
years ago.
One person at a
Sorry.
time.
They've already found the
Cynthia,
findings.
Cynthia, wait.
That was last year. I
They
told
found
you.
the findings
Listen,
with.
is everybody gonna talk when they want to?
No, may I speak?
No, one person at a time. She asked a question, we were gonna answer the question.
And,
Then I have somebody over here that raised their hand, then I'm gonna come around to you. Orderly and correctly.
I
You
understand.
asked your question. Your question was, I just wanna get it clarified again. I'm somebody to look into it, I'll try to go as fast as I can, and if we find it, we'll look back into it, whatever. The answers, do you wanna respond?
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry to cut you
I
off,
had
sir.
an individual.
You can say my name.
And I told
That's
this girl,
it.
it was more last year.
Everybody stop!
Let me say what I need to say.
Stop.
and I
Nobody's
want
saying
people-
anybody's
I
name.
really appreciate people.
What are we
that
doing?
speak For me. You need a question answered, come to me. I had an independent architect look at the situation. What I did is, I had an empty apartment, so I went into the walls. And there was insulation in there. This was the wall between two apartments. Was it the insulation that was supposed to be there? I don't know. He looked at the plans, it says there's supposed to be insulation, but we're not, it doesn't look to us as though it was the insulation that was supposed to be there. However, the reason I had to go back to the developer and also for him and the other architects is because the plans could have called for a certain kind of insulation. In building or in any kind of project, there are times when, the builders or the contractors or the architects will make changes for a number of different reasons. So the question is now that I'm looking into is, if this was the insulation that was supposed to be there, if this is the insulation that was supposed to be there, for one, the contractor is not at fault, the builder, because he builds to the specs.
Right.
If it turns out that it wasn't supposed to be the insulation, then one or two people has to be responsible for this, either the builder or the architect, because changes can't be made unless the architect approves the changes.
Right.
All right? So yes, that's the stage I'm at now, we're at now, in terms of I requested, documents from the state, from the builders, in terms of how, if anything, was addressed when these issues came up about the sound. Now, I also then had an apartment, Ms. Fielder's apartment, and when we went into the wall in her apartment, there was no insulation. But there was no insulation in the wall. My question is, which is now we're looking at, is did the specs call for insulation into those walls? Now, the wall we're talking about are not the walls, the outer walls, the walls that would touch against another person's apartment or whatever. These are internal. This wall is between the bedroom and the living room. So it's a wall that's inside the apartment. You understand? It's
So
inside
that
of the
might not
apartment.
cause for
It might not have been a need for, they might not have put in for insulation in the internal walls. The insulation may have only been for,
Sorry.
the insulation may have only been for, again, the outer walls of the apartment. And that's what we're looking into as well. Yes.
Hold on, Mrs.
When
Brown.
was this done.
Excuse
The
me,
inspector came to, look
Mrs.
into,
Brown,
when did
you'll
you
be
have the
next.
We
inspector?
did this about
Did it
about 4 months
4
ago.
months ago.
4 months ago, and,
He
if
was-
the changes,
one of
if the
my
architect made the changes, are they supposed to notify housing or the board that there will be some changes done?
Understand, when you're building, when these projects, when you're building and these projects are being done, what happens is, I'm your contractor, you're my architect. You say, I want you to do this. I start to do it. I run into a problem. Maybe the material you're asking me to use is not sufficient or not adequate or whatever. So I come back to you, the architect, and say, look, this is a problem. This is not working. We're not able to do what your plans are calling for. We need to make an adjustment, right? In the industry, they call it a change order. So the builder will get with the architect, they'll look at it, the architect will come back and say, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to make a change. Now, the architect has to sign off on the change order, but the developer also has to sign off on it because they're the ones that are paying the bill. The housing authority didn't pay the bill. It was being paid by the developer. So there are a number of people who have to know about it because once it's approved, and then it goes, when you go to pay this thing, if you haven't had a change order that was approved, you can't pay additional money. And that's what happens. But yes, and also, even though the authority is not the builder, they should also be kept aware of what's going on. But they, and they can have input into that if it's brought to their attention by the developer.
So my question was, they didn't notify, it wasn't brought to anyone's attention until afterwards that maybe there was some changes with
Well, it
the
was brought to
installation?
someone's attention as they were building it because it could not have been done otherwise.
Right, but
That's
you
what
guys didn't have to be.
No, we didn't, and that's
Thank
why I'm
you.
looking at who signed off on it, because whoever signed off on the change is part of the problem.
Thank you.
And that's how it works. I mean, it's just, that's
You gotta have a
the
understanding
process.
of the steps.
That's the process and how it works. I know that when they talked about sound, I did speak to the developer. They said, well, the village came in, because the building department signs off on a lot of stuff too. I think they're also following the process. And they came in, I guess, whatever they came in and said, use their machines and whatever. So but I don't know what, the total result of all was. I wasn't there, but the bottom line is, and so, I'm going to this, some of this stuff with the developers is in archives. It's been 4 years since this project closed. So he's getting that stuff out of archives right now for me, so that I can have a look at it.
Ms. Brown?
Well, I'm from 579, may I say something, please?
We're going in order, ma'am. It's her, then
Years ago,
Cynthia,
when
then I'll
we
come to
started
you.
this renovation, okay, on the housing, I was elected to be one of the reps, okay? And Building 7, which I live in, got a name called the guinea pig. We were the guinea pigs. They were the first building to be put together. In the process, I was following the workers to see what was going on and making notations. In the process of doing this, God bless Miss Brewster, she was unable to go up the stairs as a witness to verify what I was saying. So I did the opposite. I went up, she stayed down. Okay? And in that process, we found out it was hollow. I could hear Miss Brewster. She could hear me. And purposely, I said a curse word and she heard it. Okay? To take it a step further, I went to the workers and I told them, I told John, specifically John, what the problem was. He gave me a machine, noise maker, to check it. I did it for a whole month, different hours of the day. When the kids were there, when they wasn't there. And when they were running up the stairs, who was flushing the toilet and who was in the closet. And the arrow proved that it was bad. I gave John my notes and the machine back. We even double checked with the batteries to make sure that the machine was working. And I did this at different hours of the day when kids are there, when the company was there, when it was time to retire for the night. Okay? And I told John there was a problem. He didn't believe me, he gave me this machine. I gave him the documents so he could see, and he couldn't believe it, but it was pure facts. Building 7 was not correct.
But what happens, could happen at that time, is that then everything should have stopped.
I told
I'm just
John,
telling you what.
right, I
Everything
understand.
should have stopped.
I told him, and he was supposed to take
And
it to the
then
next level.
you look, everyone has, you sit down at that table and say, we got an issue, we got a problem, and double check the plan. Again, I can't answer for what's happened in the past. I hear what you're saying, but what maybe should have been done wasn't done. And so, as far as I'm concerned, I can't deal with that.
No, I'm not blaming you.
No, I'm saying, so I move it forward and say, how are we gonna find a way to do it?
Right, well, I'm here to verify, testify, because I live on the ground floor in
I've heard from many people about that whole
That's right.
situation, and especially about with the.
the guinea pig
So,
building,
I didn't know.
number
What
7.
else is
Can I
this?
go
This is
on?
why everyone
Go ahead,
is
ma'am.
questioning.
I heard you say that, so that's right. Go ahead, ma'am.
Well, I'm from 579. I just want a few words. I live right here on the first floor. I have a man that lives next to me after one of the men died. They moved in another man. This man burns incense. He smokes pot and everything else because people have smelled it.
Did you call the police,
I
ma'am?
I called the police once, and he told me I had to come to the office and get a paper from him. And I had told Mr. Merson once before about this. He asked me who were the police I talked to. There's so many police, I don't ask the name, okay? I have been here over 23 years in one apartment, and I have my friends all sitting here to witness to me. This man sprays something through my vent every night. Every night. He looked like a Ku Klux Klansman. That's what he looked like. I'm a Southerner, and I'm going to tell you the truth from my heart. This man has blown everything in my bathroom. His vent and mine go together. This man has blown everything. I don't know what he's spraying. My little grandson is up here from Carolina. I had to send him on the other side because he got sick one night, throwing up from that mess the man is blowing through. I've been to Mr. Morrison, I don't know how many times. I've called Miss Petrus, I don't know how many times. Miss Petrus told me that she got after him and said he wasn't gonna do it no more. He's still doing it. And I rang his doorbell the night that my little grandson, he used to live in the project, but they moved to Carolina. He was sick, and I knocked on his door to tell him, please don't burn that mess and blow it through my bathroom vent no more. He's still doing it. I asked him, I told the mango said, he's my friend, and it's all clean in there when I go. You know why it's clean? He throw his mess in the back of his truck and haul it away. He don't put it in the garbage out here. I know that because I have a friend and me have sit out there and watch it. And I have called Mr. Morrison and I have told him, this man, well, we don't have proof. Look at here, I'm proof. I've been in there all these years. I've had white, black, Spanish, and everybody. And that's the only problem out of all the years that I've been in this building. Nobody will do nothing about it because they say we need proof. Who come in here at 11 and 12 and 1 o'clock when I'm sitting out in the water hose going off on me, I'm getting wet because I can't sleep. I sent my little grandson on the other side to one of his cousins because they'll be leaving next month, going back home. Nobody will come see about it. I have a Spanish girl that went to the mango and told him that man was doing it. Have a lady live right there in front of her who's there with me since the Spanish girl went on vacation. She knows that you can't go into my bathroom unless you sneeze it or cough it. I'm going to tell you something. Do something about it. Do something about it. Because I am tired of begging and talking to Mr. Morrison and Miss Pizza about that Ku Klux Klan.
What did
That's
the
what I
police
call
say?
it. Pardon?
What did the police say?
The police told me to go to Mr. Morrison and get a paper and give it to them, and they would kick the door down because they believed me because I'm sitting out. I told Mr. Morrison that. And the police, I be sitting out there, and God knows I wouldn't lie to you. 1, 2, or 3 o'clock in the morning because I can't breathe in there. The tape that the mango put over my vent, whatever he's spraying through that vent has melted the tape.
Did you, when you're out front of the building and you can't breathe in your apartment, did you call the police at that time so they could see what's
No,
in your
because I
apartment?
didn't have, they told me that they couldn't do nothing until I got, a letter from Mr. Morrison, that they could go in there. It's a
I
disgrace.
don't know what the letter would be,
I don't know, they said a paper from the office. He said I would go in there and kick the door down because that man is running me out of there. Well, I don't know what he has against me, I don't know. He looked like a tramp. He started a whole lot of mess in here with one of the white friends. Wrote her a letter, sticking it up under her door, how he liked her. He wanna take her out. She said she would let a dog take her out, look like that. And I'm telling you, I am tired of that man and my family. Some of them, the men, they're tired of it. So do something about it. I'm gonna let them do something about it. And I mean that. I am tired. Everybody in here, I have white friends. There's one, black, white, there's one white. They know I've been here all these years. This is the first time that I ever been to that office for help. I ask nobody for nothing in here because I have my own. I worked all of my life scrubbing floors. And I don't intend to take no more off of that cracker. And I mean that.
Thank
And I
you
mean
very,
it.
thank you very much.
Tell you like it is.
You know,
Who's going?
First, with you, if you have a respiratory problem, because I have a respiratory problem, call 911. Tell them you have a respiratory problem. Once they come, you tell them you have a respiratory problem because the apartment adjacent to you is infiltrating some kind of aroma that's setting you off. They will go in there immediately.
All right.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna do. But I'm tired
As
of
far as what the young lady here was saying about the funding, we had a problem with the noise level before we even had a problem with the concrete. So why wasn't the noise level addressed before the concrete? Because the noise level is to the point whereas I live over Miss Brewster and she snores, okay, and I cough because of my asthma, and we bothered each other. We had to have a sit down because I'm asthmatic. My asthma pump, which is very small, fell on the floor. She bangs on the ceiling because she says it sounds like, a bomb coming down. You were in the apartment with the machines, weren't you? Okay? And as you asked John whether, can you hear this, he can hear you as you spoke. Whatever the level was on the machine has nothing to do with the way how the voices are carrying through. Because you say it's just like the outer rim in between the doors that go up the stairs and so. It's not. It's not just that alone. It's the entire apartment in itself. From the ceiling to the floor, to the sides, it doesn't matter. Wherever they at, my neighbor that I have, whereas it's to the point that I can hear her music in my living room, my kitchen, my bedroom. We had an incident, without saying names, whereas I thought I was going to get high inside my apartment. Did you or did you not smell that content when you walked into my apartment? Whatever they were doing, ran my company out because they were sick. I called you immediately, please come to my house right now. Through the walls. It's like, I don't know if anybody else is like, even the dust accumulation in the apartments is a lot more than what they were originally.
Yeah, sure
You know,
is.
and it sets off asthma and any other respiratory problems that was outside of just the noise alone. It's not just a problem whereas we're being disturbed with noises and whatnot, but it's also a health hazard to those who have respiratory problems. You know, but my issue, my thing is that this was brought before the concrete issue. So while the
Concrete's a separate grant that has nothing to do with that.
And it was there all the time.
We can't mix and match them. Some are radio grants, some are, you know, I don't know exactly how to word this, but for like fences and concretes. Some are for construction, some are for roofs. It's
But why wasn't
specific.
that grant for the fixing
have
of
to ask
that?
the people we
Due to the
applied to.
fact, due to the fact that she says she lives in 7, when they were building the apartments, okay, we went to the John to complain of the noise level before the project was finished. It was still in the beginning area, okay? And nothing was stopped to do that. It was complained continuously, you know, about that level. But they even told us about how much the sheetrock was supposed to have been,
Half-inch sheet.
half inch, but instead it was a little bit smaller than what it was,
That I
okay?
don't know about.
When I looked at the sheetrock that was on the trucks, it was about that thick.
What was on the label? All these
Yeah.
people are gonna
No,
know.
I'm saying, I'm saying, so we
Everybody
went and
know this,
complained,
this.
no, I said we went and complained that it was not the size that the spec said it should have been. But nothing was stopped at that point to check out to see,
As far
you
as
know.
the specs in the building, Amy commented on this a little bit. I'll just say one thing quickly. There is so many checks and balances. If this is wrong, okay, it's gonna be a long drawn out process. First of all, there was money borrowed. There's 3 sets of eyes looking at this. There's a consultant that we hired to protect the housing authority. There's a consultant, that's mine, I'm not gonna answer. Unless it's work. There's a consultant, there's a consultant for Albany, or Duncan, the builder, okay? And there's a consultant, I believe, for the banks or something, don't quote me on that. But each person has to come out to the truck and say, is that half-inch concrete? Yes, yes, yes. Is the insulation here? Yes. This is not like one person made a mistake, and they have to go to complaints.
No, I
So there's
understand,
a
I
lot
understand
of
that.
checks and
I
balances.
understand
to
They
that, no,
did.
I understand
Huh?
that.
The
But what
bottom
I'm
line
saying
what
is
they
that,
did.
okay, this was complained continuously. So instead of stopping and listening to the people whose lives are being torn about it, you know, it went on. But, you know, it's like, it's easy for someone who doesn't live there. But it's really, really hard for us that lives there.
I
you
understand
know?
that totally, but if it met all the specs that were there, I don't know how we can change it. There was a guideline to build this project, and it was approved by architects and Albany and everybody else. Once that's met, I don't know what to do after that.
But it seems like that's what we've been hearing for the last 5 years. Because at first, you know, I was there on the board with you, we was gonna try to get the phone to go through and we was gonna try, but we need a definite solution and we need a solution quickly. I know, I don't expect anyone to rip down walls and start all over, that's not feasible.
I can't promise you
But-
quickly, but I always promise you.
No, but I'm saying, I'm saying 5 years, 5 years from now, that's not quickly, that's slowly. But it's a thing whereas you have the most, not important, you know, not important. That's what we're getting. It's not important to you, okay? It's in your mind to things to do, but it's not in your mind to do, like the top of your list to do, because you're not there. You see what I'm saying? You're not
We
there.
have never stopped.
No, I'm not saying, but
Right.
you understand where it's
Just
coming
for
from?
example, I'm gonna go to you in a
Right,
second.
can we move
Just for
on?
example, can I answer the questions?
Keep asking, I want her to go, and then I would like to speak to the community, really.
Just for a little bit of a remembrance,
All
it's
right.
not an official meeting, but I'm running it, and we were going in order, and you gave up
Well,
like 5 shots.
I did, because the
Okay,
lady
now,
wanted
she
to
asked-
speak, and I was just being, respectful to my elders and the community.
We were
to let them
going in
speak.
order.
We
How did we
were,
get out of
okay,
order?
Gary, please, let her speak so I can speak, please.
he's getting ready to give an answer.
I forgot what I was gonna answer.
Okay, moving along.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sabrina Burrows Scott. I'm an ex-attendant commissioner. My brother resides here at 579. The reason why I'm so agreeing to Mrs. White that Rockville Housing Authority Board is overlooking the seniors here at this building when they have issues. Nothing is ever done about their issues. My brother, who worked for the Village of Rockville for over maybe 14, 15 years, had an accident a few years ago and it left him paralyzed from the waist down. He is in a wheelchair. When he moved to 579, they told him that he would be on the first floor in a one-bedroom apartment. It wasn't one ready at the time. When he was first moving, it was ready, but they gave it to somebody else. So when he was on his way here from the nursing home, they had to place him somewhere, so they put him on the second floor in a studio. Okay, so we as the family think it's a temporary situation until something comes available. We know for a fact there has been plenty of apartments on the first floor that has came available for my brother to move. We have been to Mrs. Petrie, we have called Rockville Housing. Whoever answers the phone, we give the information to them. They're looking into it, we're looking into it, we're looking into it. We never get any notices back, we never get anything back. Now, if anything was to happen, if there's a fire, he's in a wheelchair, he's paralyzed, he cannot get out, he's dead. If the elevators doesn't work and he has physical therapy, doctor's appointments, he can't get out because who's gonna get him out? The elevators is broke. My brother needs to be put on the first floor. And this matter can't go on with everybody saying they're gonna look into it and it's never looked into. You've had, as this Klansman she talked about, he could have had that apartment. It's on the first floor.
Amen.
You understand? These people have come into this building after my brother. So there has to be somebody who's saying, if it takes one of y'all to say, let me look over the matters at 579. When they issues come about, let me make these priority. Not let me just worry about Old Mill Court. Because you guys are responsible for two complexes.
Amen.
And a lot of things is happening at 579, and you can't tell me, oh, because I was on this board. I know a lot of things happen that's overlooked to these seniors. And if it wasn't for these seniors having the stuff we have, we wouldn't have. You got to remember that. They paved the way. So make them comfortable. Make her feel safe. Get whoever's blowing whatever into her house. Go in there. You let that person know if this doesn't stop ASAP, they're going to have to be removed from the premises. If you got to go get HUD, to come with you, then that's what you have to do. But nobody should have to sit in their homes, especially these seniors,
Sabrina,
and be sick and uncomfortable.
Sabrina, we have to, Jamie, we have to follow the guidelines of the housing and we just can't go throw somebody out of their apartment. There's got to be reasonable cause for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know all this. I'm not saying throw anyone out because I would never want to see anyone homeless, but I want you to address this. Knock on the door and go in and say, I need to speak to you. I'm getting complaints because I'm the chairman. My name is Gary Conda. I'm from the board. Now you got a board member sitting, the chairman sitting in your house saying, I'm getting notification that you're smoking marijuana, that this woman next door to you is sick. If this doesn't stop, we're going to have to do something. You live right here in Rockville Center. It'll take you 5 minutes to do that, Gary.
And 2 minutes to write up a letter and tell you.
No more letters needed. You can go to the door. You have that right. There's nothing that's stopping you from doing that.
Absolutely right.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. Step and take care of her, and please. Whatever you do, Mr. Morrison is your name. My brother's name is Derek Burrows. Please look into that matter.
Can I say something?
Uh-huh.
Can you respond to that?
Okay.
What you're saying. Yeah, I can't talk about past, because I don't know anything about the past. Right? I can only deal with me and what's here now.
Sorry.
This is the first time I've ever even heard what you said. What you did. This is the first time excuse me.
Ask Ms. Petrie, she heard plenty.
Well,
And your woman that you send down here to do, what is that, recertification?
okay.
She knows also.
Okay, this is the first time that I've heard anything about this.
Okay.
So I can't address it until now.
Okay.
Because it's the first time. And everybody is not overlooked. All right, because I've run senior buildings before, and I interact with a lot of the seniors here. there's a lot of people, John, who, you know, when they have needs, go to deal with individual situations that seniors have if they told me that I go and see about. But, I will address it, but I need to let you know that this is the first time I've ever heard this.
Okay.
So I can't, even if decisions have been made to put other people's there, I wouldn't even know why it would have been overlooked, because, again, I have no information on that, so I will check that.
Okay,
Sabrina, if I could just say something, I take a little opposition to it. Things are overlooked.
Thanks.
Anything that is brought to our attention, and this board as a whole has taken a stance in the last 5 years. Actually, when you were back on the board, as you know, we kept going, which I always enjoyed, as you know. We were going through, and there was a spot here where we were trying to save money. There's always that issue. And we're still doing something with that. But the board, and I believe it was actually in your time, we took a stance saying, we cannot stop our day-to-day issues down here. And we took a very hard stance. And since that stance, through the Village of Rockville Center and other grants, they got a completely new laundry room. Every apartment's been painted. They got all new refrigerators. We did a whole window modification down here. So they're not being overlooked. A lot of money has been put into this building. So does every place have a problem? Absolutely. And I think we address them fairly well, all right? Might not be in a timely fashion or acceptable for some people, but we certainly don't try to overlook things. That's quite a bit of work done in 5 years. We went to all the windows, all the refrigerators. What was it? There was a kitchen cabinet project, if I remember. The kitchen cabinet project, painted all the rooms. Now the village has granted us some more money. Very nice. We're ripping up all the rugs in the hallways.
Oh, I was saying the carpet gotta go, right?
Right, because they were complaining about the smells in the carpets. We're ripping all of them up. We're retiling all the hallways. We've been extremely aggressive down here in the last 5 years. So, no, I don't agree with we overlook anything. And that's the same thing down at Old Mill Court. With what monies we can get in grants, this board has been extremely aggressive with grants and money. And if you drive into Old Mill Court down there, is there problems? I'm not trying to hide any problems. I'm not trying to deny anything. But it's a very beautiful looking housing authority. It's a very nice.
Beautiful looking is not what we need, Gary.
Thank you, guys.
I understand.
Okay.
I'm not trying to cover something up. I'm certainly not trying. Who was next?
I was one. My name is Cynthia Fielder Boyd. I do live here in Rockville Center. I have been a resident here for over 20 years or so. Rockville Center is a beautiful place to live. A beautiful place. They have a lot to offer us here. I live in Old Mill Court, okay? I recently, I was elected to be the commissioner, one of the reps, the commissioner on the Housing Authority. I'm here to let the community know, you know, my version of what was asked of me. I was asked to step down from my position as the board is claiming due to HUD regulations. But what the board failed to tell me at the time, you know, that they called me in on July 3rd and presented me with some paperwork here from HUD and all their communication and conversations that they were having. In regards to the situation of the rep stepping down from the Housing Authority. But the board here was discussing and communicating this issue for like 10 months here. But they were going behind my back and Mr. Herbert's back. I'm really not sure if Mr. Herbert knew about it or not. I do believe he knew about it, or you guys might have shared the information with him. But as Mr. Morrison mentioned to me, they chose not to tell me, okay? They chose not to tell me. I think that is a violation of a commissioner's right, and as a human being, that's a violation of my right. I don't understand, if I'm a commissioner on the board, why would you hold secret meetings and secret conversations and secret anything that basically concerns me as a rep? I don't understand why that went on. But we were asked to step down. So that's why I call for people, let the community know what is going on. They're saying they don't want any more reps from Old Mill Court, okay? That they do have to come from 579 here.
Why? Question number one. I want to say something to you. You just said HUD has nothing to do with us because we are prioritized and we are private. So if HUD has nothing to do with us, how could HUD tell us we can't have tenants rep? That's the reason why I asked you specifically, were you getting that money from the government or were you getting it from HUD? You said no, HUD didn't give us that money. We were funded by the government. So how could HUD tell us that we can't have a tenants rep? And who are y'all to tell us who can represent us and who can't represent us? According to HUD, it says for every 50 units, you can have one. And for every 300, you can have two. It's in HUD. We got it written down on the paper. So HUD didn't say you could kick them off. HUD said they would like you to embrace more in your community because the more you have, the more you can work together. So while you were reading up in the bylaws of HUD, you should have read in there where they have it in there, that for every 300, you have 150 units down in Old Mill Court. You have only 50 up in here. So you only need one representative up in here, but you need two down in here. So if you have an unequal number, you can put one more up in here. The more, the merrier. But who are y'all to keep dictating down in Old Mill Court how many tenants we can have representing us? Because you come in here and you just slip and slide in what y'all want to do with us down there. Who can come out and who can't get on? So you figure if you shut us down, you can do what you want. You can dictate to us how it's going to be, but you can't move a whole community. There's some voices in there can move just like that, can get some people to move, because we will rise up down there. We will tell you, you cannot stop us from voting. You cannot tell us we're going to do what y'all want the way y'all want. How can you vote somebody in and then vote them out? How can you tell us first we ain't a part of HUD, then we part of HUD? You just said HUD don't belong to us. So how can HUD tell us that now you can't have tenants rep? Which one is it? Are we HUD? Are we not HUD? You said we're private, then we're not private. According to your deed that we pulled up, it says we're not private. Gary, which one is it? You wrote on her thing that we were private. According to the deed she pulled up, it says we're not private. Which one are we, Gary? Because y'all have so many different bylaws in here. We don't know who owns us, who don't own us. And every time we ask y'all a question, you go round and round in circles. So tell us, what gives you the right to come in here and tell us to get up? And this all became because we came on the floor and went up over to the village and we stood up for what y'all didn't want us to stand up for. So then you wrote all of this up. One part to the Herald, the other part sent it to the Patch, then you sent it over there to HUD. Now HUD came up with something, but you said we don't get funded by HUD. So who's HUD to tell somebody ain't gonna have no tenants rep? If Terrace got a tenants rep, who is Old Mill Court they can't have one? You can't stop no tenants rep. We're going to get as much as signatures as we want. We're going to have to put it on TV or anywhere we want. You can't dictate down here every time y'all want to dictate down here. You don't own this down here that you're going to shut us down every time you want. It's not going to work like that. We're going to overflow HUD if we have to because we're going to have a tennis rep. Do you understand? You don't dictate to us down here like that. And you're going to stop thinking you rule. This ain't no plantation. You understand? The government owns this. Somehow, some way, the government owns this. It's Section 8. That's what you said, remember?
Actually,
Well,
Gary,
I would like to answer that.
what do you want to answer?
About
There was so many things
Right.
that I didn't even want to
Right.
answer.
I have a question.
One person at a time.
Why can't we have one?
You're not the person right now. Hold up, sir. You may
Can
have
you
gone.
answer the question about HUD? Her question about HUD. We were told that HUD guidelines said that there could not be tenants rep from Old Mill Court. Is that true? And you guys took 10 months?
10 months and didn't,
All right,
failed
I'm
to
gonna
tell
say-
me
I can't-
about it.
So did,
Failed to tell the rest of us. No,
It's
I
not
want
answer.
to know because grace, Gary, and like Christine said, this board wants to have full control of people and authority and jurisdiction. Like she said, you don't have control over me. Don't nobody have that but the love of God, okay? Control and authority. You people want that so bad. It's disgusting that you sit here and try to act like, oh, Cynthia, this is not coming from us. This is coming from HUD.
Let me answer,
They don't
please.
want to take responsibility for anything.
This is what I deal with on a day-to-day basis.
No, you don't.
The answer is the HUD. HUD sent us this letter.
Yeah.
I will be clear about this. I cannot discuss too much while it's going through
He
litigation,
ain't gonna tell you.
okay?
It's not,
But I
it's
can
not
be-
in litigation.
He ain't gonna tell you. He gonna
This
say
is in litigation? No way. You made a decision on my behalf as a commissioner. You made, rules and regulations. You wrote a letter here on behalf of my.
I didn't, well, I.
Yes, you
that's
did
what
write
I
a
put
letter.
out.
You
But I
wrote
went-
a letter here to HUD in regard to the commissioners on the board. I had no knowledge of you even writing a letter or even talking to HUD. Y'all addressed me with this on July the 3rd and brought it to my attention and told me we had to step down, and that was that. And I said to you, I'm gonna investigate this guy.
And I wish you would.
I am investigating, but you were wrong. You and the board are wrong. And I'm saying, this is what we want to represent us down here in Old Mill Court. You don't tell the truth about anything or nothing. We can't have people like you representing us.
I just gonna just say one thing, I'm just gonna ask. If this is coming from HUD, just say it is. All right, as you guys being board members, you know that the tenants need a representative that's within the tenants. So instead of sending a letter to your tenant commissioners and telling them, well, you guys gotta go, HUD said you gotta go.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you send HUD a letter and say, listen, we need these tenant reps because these tenant reps represent the tenants. And if it can't be done through HUD and if they're saying absolutely not, then why can't you guys go to the mayor of Rockville Center because he can appoint people. So why can he appoint the 2 tenant reps to represent the tenants of Old Mill Court? I'm not understanding why this is an issue. A lot of times the Rockville Center Housing Authority make things an issue that really is not an issue. That can be really solved real simple. So it's either something or someone on the board does not want these tenant reps for whatever reason. And I'm not saying it's anyone per se, but it is something going on that somebody doesn't want the tenant reps. Because I can't see, you guys aren't even fighting for your reps. These are your reps. I used to be one of them. So I know they belong to you. So why would you not fight for them?
Because they do not want me on the board, I can tell you that. Because I speak out and I speak up and I address, yes it is, Gary. The truth is the light. Let's get real here.
Again, this was not, two things I want to say. One thing, again, it's not going to be too much, but some stuff has been made public. And you asked, and it looks like somebody handed this letter out at the meeting, so it's not me that's doing this, I don't care right now. I said, dear Mr. Morrison, listen, we sent a letter requesting that they not be removed, or at least go to the end of their term, so we could work something out. Dear Mr. Morrison, this letter is to inform you that we have received your request asking HUD to allow the RBCHA to wait until August 2014 to comply with HUD's request regarding the tenant representation on the board. Unfortunately, HUD cannot approve this request. We fought for 10 months of these actions. I am done with that. The next thing is stop. I get the floor.
Go ahead, go Gary, go.
All right? Did I or did I not, when we sat down and spoke to you, said we are on your side We will fight with you till the end, till we get a resolution to this. Yes or no?
You did
No.
say that,
That's all I
but
need to know.
I don't believe that, Gary.
On that
I
note,
can't believe,
You
I
don't
don't
believe
agree
anything I
with you.
said.
No,
I
I don't.
absolutely
Because
will
if
fight
you
for you
fought
to the
for
end.
me, if you was fighting for me, you would have mentioned it to me when it first happened. So I could have made my own decision, or maybe helped y'all come up with a resolution.
I didn't have
You
a
don't
decision
get
in
the
this,
chance
and
to
you
make
don't have a
decisions.
decision in this.
But it's
I don't
for
have
me.
a decision in this.
You made it.
That's what I
That's-
said.
Give you any type
But
of.
that have nothing to do with it.
Orderly.
As
Ms.
a,
Garrett,
thank you, as a
you've spoken,
resolution.
Ms. Garrett,
No,
Garrett.
listen, no, piggyback on that. As a
If we're not gonna be
resolution-
orderly,
No,
I'm gonna close it.
No, just
No,
as a
stop,
resolution.
Ms. Garrett,
Okay.
you're next. You don't
See,
have
that's
to-
the problem. You know, but that's the
No,
problem.
we're going in order. She's been standing here for half an hour.
Addressing me just now, and I wanted to say something back to this.
I want to address what Gary just read from that letter. I have a copy of that letter, and that letter is in response to this board not ever discussing it with Cynthia or with Herbert, and making a suggestion that to solve the problem that HUD has raised, that there was no representative from this building, that instead of adding a representative, and this is significant, the recommendation made was that instead of doing what you were telling us by adding somebody from this building, we just want to keep the other two. And of course they were going to say no, because they told you they wanted you to add somebody from over here. So you, when you made that recommendation, they didn't say you couldn't have these same two people there at that time. They didn't say you had to remove anyone. They just said you had to add
That's
someone.
right.
That's only, so you violated them by saying, we're not gonna add someone, we're gonna keep these two. And you knew very well that that was not gonna be accepted because they told you to put a new person
That's right.
on. They never said in any of their correspondence, they never said that a new person would replace the other two, that the other two had to be taken off. So don't keep misrepresenting and twisting
Misrepresenting
things.
anyway.
Right.
This is what creates all this controversy. You twist things, just tell the truth. You have made a serious error in communicating to the community that HUD told you that you had to remove these two people. What HUD told you is that you had to add someone from this building. That is what HUD told you. Just admit that and say you're sorry, you have made a serious error, and we are gonna reinstate these people. There was no legitimate reason for you to take them off. They are really not even taken off because you had no authority to take them
That's
off.
right.
And for you to sit there and know about this for 10 months, making recommendations to HUD without even consulting your board. You did not consult your board, you did not get a vote from your board, and you just went off on yourself, misrepresenting what HUD told you, and now here, still today, misrepresenting why had HUD said no to that. It was because you refused to do what HUD said, and that is the bottom line. That's the only reason they said that. They didn't say to remove them, they said they could not be the representative from
your
this
opinion
building.
and the
It's not
people's
my opinion, it is the truth.
It's here.
I've been advised by 3 sets of counsel.
No, they told you from HUD to get one more person from 579. They
That's all
said
they
two
said.
from here and two from
This
here.
is not over, and
I
I've
know
said
it's
this
not.
multiple
HUD has representatives
times.
also. If you guys do not believe what Gary is saying, request that they
That's
bring a HUD representative to the very next
I
meeting
said,
and let them explain what they are saying.
I know it. I didn't
That's it.
interrupt you. Exactly, very good point, and
Yep.
thank you for saying that, because I said, why would I hand you, Cynthia, all the papers and say, this is not us? Call them. Call them.
They are not answering too much. The only one we spoke
Welcome
to
to my world.
was Mr. Murray, Mr.
And
Murphy.
that's why we
But
got the
Mr.
answer.
Deanna Khan and Mr. What's his name? No, Mr. Oliver. Mr. Oliver, I feel that they are not answering because they feel that the situation has been resolved with the housing authority, so they feel they have no more
Resolve.
interjection in here, okay? They did provide you with the necessary information that was needed, like Ms. Gary stated. They told you you do need somebody from 579, being that this is an assisted public housing complex and we're not. That is also true, okay? But they're not answering their phone because they feel, I guess they feel the situation has been resolved.
That's,
You know, and if
10
anyone
months
should
you've
be
been
removed,
calling,
it
you've
should
been
be
communicating
you.
with them.
It should be you,
10
Gary,
months.
because you have
Right.
violated.
don't make any promises you can't keep.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, you
Thank
got
you.
it.
I tried.
Step down.
We'll request it for you. We will request it for you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so with the information from HUD,
appointed.
other than the 3rd, when Cynthia received the information, I was on my way to work, a flyer was put in my door saying that we no longer had attendance reps as of that day. Is the community supposed to be informed of this?
You know what? That's an excellent question, and I love you for that. I really do.
I
This
just
is
wanna be
my
informed.
problem.
Most
No,
of my
no,
questions.
this is my
10
problem.
months.
I have been between Cynthia and Ms. Garrett, and this board has been criticized so many times that I didn't put the word "and" in. I didn't let the community know. I did it wrong. I was very rude in the way I did it. I didn't word the paragraph right. I did it on Tuesday. You should have had it out on Monday. It was Thursday after
Right.
7
Should've had it 10
p.m.
months ago.
I should have had it 2 months ago.
10 months
10 months
ago.
ago. I have never, ever communicated to this community properly.
That's
All right? So I was trying to be nice, but I'm sure I did it wrong. That's it.
I only asked that.
No, I don't think it should be.
I only
But
asked
I wouldn't
that
be
because we had
criticized
to
if I
vote them
didn't.
in. Well, only because we had to, we voted them in. Well, no, if there's, you know, if
And
there's
again, I
something
said
going
this
on
is
with
not
our.
over.
Well, we called them, they said you just need one more from 579. We called them, they said,
You don't understand. The way the board is structured, it is 5 representatives appointed by the mayor. Then there was always 2 tenant elected representatives.
Okay.
We're hitting a bump in the road from HUD on the 2 tenant elected representatives. Until this is ironed out, if we only need 1 here and we could do so, I don't know, the legal has to do this. I cannot say what's gonna be happening.
Gary.
Legal is here. It's just-
One question at a time,
You have no.
all right? When we resolve this and we find out we're legally correct, we'll do it. Okay, now, just for argument's sake, and please, I know this is a meeting, and I know this will get thrown back in my face. God willing, we can reconfigure this, and it's 1 from here and 1 from Old Mill Court. Stop. What happens now if we didn't release, or which commissioner do we release?
Well, we
It should
released
be
the
an
one this
election
time.
at both places to be
Bingo, there you
fair.
go.
There
That's
go,
right.
okay?
You're absolutely right. He's right
It's
for
that
that.
legal
He's
to
absolutely
do.
right for that.
Everybody wants to yell at me for a while, nobody wants to
You
listen
can't just
for a
delete
while.
somebody, you have to
All right?
vote it, yeah, absolutely, Gary.
See, Gary.
I said we will work this till the end. I told Cynthia this. Everybody else wants to make an uproar, that's your business, and you can do that. That's quite right.
You've got to reinstate these 2 candidates.
At this point, no.
How are they?
You have not officially voted not to have.
You didn't.
So how can you just yourself
I
tell
don't,
people
this
they
is not a
can't be on
meeting
the
tonight. I don't have a
They-
quorum.
Well, you didn't have a vote. You
meeting.
didn't have a vote to get rid of
I
them.
don't.
You didn't vote to get rid of
The
them.
commissioner,
So how can they be off the board when you didn't
Take
vote?
somebody off like that.
Right.
I
How
told
can
you,
you take
while
the
this is
vote for it
in,
when you
while this is
didn't
in
vote?
litigation, I'm not coming.
So what's the procedure?
Well, why don't the lawyers say?
Yeah,
How
the
do
lawyers
they- how
are here,
do
let them
they-
speak. They're here, let them speak.
This is not HUD lawyers, guys.
Tenant court, yeah.
Yeah, you
Landlord tenant cases.
Oh, you handle what tenants cases?
How did you
Landlord tenants.
Gary just come in and just take somebody off the board like that and they are tenants rep? No, you gotta go by the full proper step, and when it's fully, then you say it is well, it's done up. You just come in and you just to make the decision. Remember what you said? You down 3 men. So you down 3 men, that's an unequal vote, cause you ain't got her to make the vote either, right? So therefore, you got an unequal vote. So you took 10 months to get the letter out. So you said you down 3 men, so now you can make a vote and they can't represent us now? Who are you to say that you don't have a voice in this? You didn't vote them in, did you? Did you vote, it had, so therefore, they finish their term out. Until you finish and fully find out what HUD is saying, because HUD said you need one more from 579. One more, the same way you did your investigation when they called you and did all of that. We called too, they said you need one more for 579. So if you gotta take a vote to get a man down or bring a man in, we gonna do it just like that.
Okay.
So therefore, they don't have to get up off that board just like that, because you speak, everybody don't have to move like that, Gary. We gonna have to do this thing right. Every time you say something don't mean everybody gotta do what you gotta do, Gary, because you sitting in that seat. It took a vote for them to get in there, then you gonna do it the right way to get them out of there. But it takes one man from up in here to make it right. So you choose which way you gonna do it. Either you gonna take one man down or you gonna bring one man up. But you don't have to take no tenant rep off of there.
One man, I don't understand what
You're gonna get one person from 579 to keep them on, or you're gonna take one down from an Old Mill Court. But you can't just remove our tenants rep off the board in Old Mill Court. So we want them to stay right on this board, representing Old Mill Court.
At the time that we're waiting to get the right.
I'm not gonna discuss this anymore because I don't even have a quorum for a meeting. I was very polite to say, I know there's concerns of the community. I wanna hear the concerns of the community. And what's it? We're not gonna dictate to me, this is gonna follow a due process.
That's right.
And whatever the due process is in the end, it's gonna be the result.
That's it. So
Well, can you first admit that you did not follow due process when you announced to Cynthia and her that they were on the board? What do you mean you don't know? You didn't have a vote. Admit it. You didn't vote. You didn't have a public meeting on it. You didn't vote. They have not been dismissed. You have no authority to tell them because you didn't discuss it in public and you didn't do it in public. So therefore, your vote doesn't count. You just admit that and start to be honest here with the people. There's no reason for all this controversy if you would just be honest about this thing. You had no authority to dismiss them.
And they ain't
You didn't have an open meeting.
You ain't
You
dismissed,
didn't
they
have
can't
a vote.
dismiss you.
And HUD didn't tell you to dismiss them. That is unclear. So why can't you just admit that?
No,
Thank you for comments.
No, you ain't dismissed.
Oh, that's not gonna give me their legal.
Hey, you ain't dismissed, then you're not dismissed. You still a tenant
No, I have
rep.
not signed anything,
You
I
still
have
a
not
tenant rep.
signed,
We still
I
a
just
tenant rep.
listened to them at their meeting, took the paper and told them I was gonna investigate. I didn't agree with Gary and them, you know, he
still a
tried to
tenant
be
rep. He cannot remove our
honest,
tenant
you know,
Mr.
with what they
Morrison
were
has some
doing, but to me
information
that
that
wasn't honest.
can shed light on some of our
I
questions.
just want to say one thing, and as we kind of put this to resolution, because, you know, you could go back and forth all day and all night, and we could sit here till tomorrow, and we would still be where we are tomorrow. You know, in order to resolve issues and situations like that, first of all, you gotta be able to sit down and talk. All right? You need to get people, get folks that are involved, have the answers, whatever, and you need to talk. How do we work this out? All right? You know, we go back and forth about HUD and the state or whatever. Well, you know, again, I'm gonna say this, unfortunately, when this whole redevelopment was done, that was the time when the developers and whatever, and the state should have been clarifying what it means in terms of who owns this, who's this, that, the other. Besides the point. But the thing is that,
They did.
well, maybe not clear.
No, clearly, they did.
Oh, okay. Well,
And they stated that everything of Rockville Center Housing Authority would be adopted into the new rules and regulations after remodelization. I sat on the board, I was there when Duncan was talking, and we okayed for that to take place, that remodelization, and they said they was going to adopt everything accordingly. Nothing would be changed, and Rockville Center Housing Authority would be the rulers of everything. They would make the decisions of what takes place.
Okay.
So I don't know what you mean by they should have talked, they did talk.
well, well,
Now all of a sudden changes are coming about, so that's my concern.
I don't know what they said.
I know you wasn't there.
All I know is
what you're being
What's
told.
What I'm told and what I do my own look into. Now, at this point, see, there are two things. The HUD has a say over the authority in terms of the makeup of this board. It designs it. But the housing authority was incorporated in the state of New York. All right, in Rockville, through the state of New York. The state of New York is the housing division, whatever, are the ones that created the housing authority for the state, and it's the same all over the country. And as they created it, there are certain guidelines that they have set down. So when you deal with some of the issues around the housing authority, there are two entities you really have to kind of look at. You have to look at HUD, but then there are some things that HUD will say, well then you need to, look at this with the state, all right? Because the state says there have to be 7 commissioners, okay? HUD says, okay, for the housing authorities that fall under the federal subsidy, they have to be the rest of them, whatever. Anyway, the bottom line is at this point, I have taken all of the information and I have referred it to the New York State Division of Housing and Urban Renewal, which is called the New York State DHCR, under whom this stuff falls. And I have sent it to them. And one of the supervisors, directors there, has now turned it over to the lawyers so that we get a clear interpretation from the state in terms of this boards of commissioners, all right, and being aware of what the problem is, this issue we're dealing with, to get a ruling from them as well. HUD has asked, when I called the other day, they said to go on and send it there. And let's see what they're saying. Once you get that information, then you can sit down and now say, okay, this is what we are dealing with, period, and what do we do? And that depends on what the response is. At this point, we don't know what the response is. Nobody does.
So if you don't know what the response
But they're moving
is.
on it. All I know is that they are moving to address, to look at this and get back to the board with whatever.
Okay,
So
and if
it
you
is not
don't
just
know
sitting there.
as a board what the true response is, how do you dismiss two people without having a solid answer or can
Because
explain
they
to
were
them?
they were gonna attack our monetary
They were
funds.
responding.
We cannot afford to lose
Protect
any
the funding for this building.
They were gonna lose the funding for this building. We had to make.
Right, but Gary, if you guys would have stayed, because to me it seems like, because you're saying, well, I don't know if they wanted me to have representatives here and at Old Mill Court. I'm not for sure if they wanted us to have just one here or one here. Why did you say to HUD, listen, I don't know what you're asking for? Because you yourself, you the chairman, you can't explain to your board if you don't know. And you're saying you don't know. So why didn't you say to them, I don't know what you want me to do?
I can't comment on that.
Because what Mr. Morrison said is correct. You should be able to sit down and discuss this thing, get the facts, and know what everybody's doing and everybody being on the same page. That is what should have happened before this situation of this dismissal. That's number one. And number two, if you're claiming that you're in such a position that you're gonna lose funding because you don't have a record of this building, I refer you to the information that I handed out, section 425, that states very clearly, if you do not have 300 units in your building, this building, you do not have to have a representative from this building. I'm not saying it's not a good idea to have one, but I'm saying that number 425 says that you do not have to have a representative if there are not more than 300 units. This has 50 units here
Then why would HUD send this to me?
because they have made a mistake.
I didn't think they were
All right?
working.
So, what I'm saying, Gary, is if all this had everybody could sit down, the way it should have been done, an open meeting, discuss it, the thought that you could be discussing this about Cynthia.
No
and
commissioner's
without telling
personal
her
business
not-
will be discussed in an open
It
meeting.
is not a personal business.
It is
It is not a personal business. It has to do with the makeup of the board. It has to do what is required, what does her
If I
require
was
as
Cynthia, I
the
would be
making
very
of the
embarrassed
board.
if this was being
I'm not
discovered.
embarrassed, I'm not embarrassed for anything.
discussed
You
it.
the one held information
You have
from
made
me.
it personal.
You never even discussed it with me, Gary.
And
How am I embarrassed? I want the community to know this.
See,
What represents us here?
someone went to
We
her.
got it.
Someone went to her
Embarrassed
9
of
months
what?
ago, 10 months ago,
Embarrassed of what?
and made a complaint about her, that she was an advocate. That was the complaint. That she was
Who
doing
complained about her?
advocacy. We don't know.
Complained about
Who
it.
complained?
The patch, as you mentioned, the patch sent in that letter and made a complaint about me.
Cynthia, I
The
gave
patch.
you every paper
You
that was
sure
given to
did,
me.
you sure
I
did.
got nothing to hide. I've given you every single
You
paper.
did, you told me and made a decision and made a lot of decisions on my behalf without me even knowing. That is, that's against the law to me. You violated me and that's against my
I
rights.
didn't make any
That's
decisions.
yes, you did.
You did.
You wrote letters on my behalf. I wasn't in any meeting or took no part in anything that you guys discussed on this issue here.
Is there any information where we can, have her counsel possibly speak with, is this counsel from HUD, the state, that's investigating this? Oh, what council is investigating this?
State, it was
HUD
in the
and
state,
local.
it was
State,
said
HUD, and
and
local.
local.
State, HUD, and local.
So-
So after all of this years, it just been
Just
brought to their
happened now.
attention.
You know what, I don't understand all of this, and
All
in
these
Sabrina's
years we
defense, this is,
This ain't never happened.
This is the first time this has ever happened.
Right.
Yeah, because
Right.
you have to know, you have to understand, and I know I'm right on this. There are times when things happen that have never, situations have never come up, and even though there are laws and guidelines and rules for things, they're never for, no rule, guideline, law covers every scenario. And this is a scenario that has never presented itself,
We're
not
working on
just
it.
here,
It's not over.
anywhere, obviously, because after dealing with all that with HUD, now all of a sudden they're saying, well, maybe you better check some things with the state, because it's never come up, and that's what is being done.
But they saw, in Gary's defense,
That's what's
they
being done.
gave Gary an ultimatum, if you look in the letter, and that he had 14 days. We had 14 days to deal with it, or basically they were gonna lose funding. So it was done, in my opinion, okay, as a stopgap, so that they didn't lose funding for this building. They're still working on it, and they're trying to rectify it. And they don't know what the definition of rectify means, and that's what they're trying to establish. They do know, I guess, at this point, at the very, but maybe Ms. Gary's telling us different, at the very least, that they need a representative from this building, okay?
Right, so while
But-
they're
but there's a-
rectifying it.
But there's a limit to the amount of board members. There's a limit, there's a maximum, what is it, 7? Okay, so the state limits the amount of board members, and the mayor's appointed 5, I'm sorry, so that leaves 2. So they're trying to ascertain what the makeup of the board is, and they're getting one thing from HUD with hanging money over their head, which obviously we can't afford to lose the funding for this building, okay? And then the fact that the complex became privatized, and then you still had the HUD building, and you have the same authority governing both, I would question whether or not there's a single community on Long Island that has privatized and HUD at the same time being run by the same board. So nobody,
It hasn't been privatized.
it has, it's a tax credit.
It has a
The deed
tax
says-
credit,
the
but
the
it
deed
doesn't
is for the land, not the
The
building.
deed
Yes,
is for the
the-
land.
The land, not the
Land, not
properties.
the
Not the
buildings.
properties.
The property is different
The
than the
property is
land.
mortgaged, it's privatized.
Okay, so the property is mortgaged and it's privatized.
So you're saying that
All I'm
there's a
saying-
different owner for the building as opposed to the land?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that happens all the time, that's not
So
uncommon.
who's the owner for the land? The housing.
The housing authority,
We have
yes.
a deed for this particular parcel.
The land
And it
owns-
says
the housing owns the
owns-
owns the land, no, which is really the state. Housing authority is really
Harry
the state.
is not.
But the buildings,
So the state
the
owns the land? No, the housing authority.
housing
is
authority
not-
I
owns the
don't-
land to the best of
The
my
housing
knowledge.
authority is an
But the housing
independent
authority is the
authority.
state. it's not so uncommon that different entities own different parts.
Okay,
But my point was only that I'm pretty sure this is a unique situation that's never happened, at the very least in Nassau County, probably maybe the whole state, I don't know. But the point is, they're trying to sort it out, and in the interim, if you read the letter, I think.
Oh, I read it.
Okay, so I think that it was a little bit threatening to the board, maybe not in black and white, but as to the how, you have 14 days to rectify this. That was a little.
Justify him making a decision, like I said, it doesn't justify that, and for him to make a decision and put the reps off, okay?
Yeah,
Well, they wanted to perfect.
I know they wanna keep the money
They want to,
here.
which you understand.
I do understand that, I'm all for that, but it doesn't justify what he
until this
did.
is rectified or figured out, who
Correct.
is gonna represent the tenants? Why?
And when it calls,
All right,
they oh, you have to do
It
it.
only said that you had to have a plan in 14 days. It doesn't say that you're not gonna get funding if you don't have the plan.
Well, I thought it was fairly
Threats by
And that's what I mean, that's what I'm saying by you guys don't understand what HUD is requesting. And if
That's
you
why
can't
Trent-
understand, how the hell are you gonna make somebody else
Well,
understand?
that's the point, that's why we went
Point
to
I've
the
been saying
state.
all
That is
day.
why Jamie went to the state.
Good,
Can I-
but Gary, before you guys go to the lawyers, why would you or anybody on the board make
Money
a
away.
decision? Listen, because in that letter didn't say you ain't gonna get your money. So my thing is, you have 14 days to come up with a solution. In the process, you could immediately fax them back, well, we have issues with these demands. We have the tenants that's very upset about this, we have X, Y, and Z, whatever the hell it was. We don't even understand what's going on with
All
it.
that was
Do you
communicated.
think we wanted this to happen?
Gary, I'm not saying you did.
Back
I'm not saying you did, but I'm saying, once you receive this letter from them, you can respond to it.
If I could just say one thing. If I could just say one thing, Sabrina, you were on the board back then. When this all started, unfortunately, we've hit some bumps in the road. This was the only way to bring money into the community and rebuild. All right? It wasn't like we were getting money anywhere else.
Right.
This was tax credits was the only way, and it
I know
worked
that.
very well. Like you said, some of the bumps in the road we hit, and one of my biggest ones was, I went right in the beginning and said, everybody that lives in Old Mill Court will have their
Thank you
apartment
for
when we are
coming.
done.
That's right.
That was right off the bat, I said it at the Martin Luther King
Yes, you
Center, I said it right in the
You
beginning.
said that,
The
right?
first bump in the road I hit is there's 7 people living in Old Mill Court with over 6-digit salaries. And they came to me and said, you better get them out of there.
Right.
I go, you gotta be kidding me. I just went up there, you directed me to tell everybody that you have your apartment back when you're done, and now they don't qualify.
Right.
And
So
that
we
was the
fixed
first
that?
thing that was a bump in the road that
Right.
we had to get through. This is a bump in the road that we will have to get through. We will find a solution.
And that's what I know. I know you will. That's not I'm not even concerned. I know, Gary, you're gonna find a solution to this. But my thing is, before